Welcome and thank you for tuning into this episode of the podcast. Evidently, you're unaware. I am your host, Andrea, and I'm excited today to bring part two of something that has been talked about across this country and really across this world. If you have been a frequent viewer, follower, or if you're brand new, you know that when you're here on this platform, it is my goal and my mission to bring you relevant, important information, also insight into those things that matter in our everyday lives. So let's get smarter. It has been difficult to miss what has happened over the past, I should say, last 30 days or so, but on the date, particularly October 18th, 2025, the No Kings movement has grown, and by right, it should. So just for historical context, the U.S. civil rights movements in March, which was on Washington in the year 1963, and the global protests against the Vietnam Wars, which happened in the 60s and 70s, those each were significant because of their scale, their powerful messaging, all of the things that those movements intended to do as an impact on our social, our political rights, all of those things that the attention became more prevalent once people took to the streets. But No Kings has now come parallel, if not exceeded, those historical movements. And what we witnessed on October 18th has now been widely documented. Over 2,500 cities across the United States of America and over 7 million, with an M, 7 million people made their voices known to what is happening with the current administration. And I have the pleasure, I have the honor, and I am elated to bring back none other than Eric Gerard. He joined me once before with this type of podcast, but Eric is not alone. He actually is very, very visible in our political climate locally, but he brought back some new friends, and that is what we are going to do today. So I'm also going to bring up on board his new friend, another Eric. So you guys bear with me. Here we are. We got two Erics. So I'm going to go Eric G, and I've been told E.T. Eric T is the proper way for our second Eric. And then we have Stasha, and we have Slava. And so I am elated. Each and every one of you are here today to simply talk about your experience participating in the No Kings protest, which I love to call a movement, because that's exactly what it is. And so we're here for part two, a follow-up to the October movement. And I'll just begin with Eric G. Tell us, what was your most memorable moment, I should say, in this most recent protest event?
Well, first of all, Andrea, thanks for having us on. It's always such a pleasure to get together with you here. So thanks so much. And thanks for shining a light on what we're all about here with Indivisible and No Kings. I've been thinking about that, and I would have to say the most memorable thing was the huge turnout. We knew that there was going to be a large turnout, but it far exceeded anything that we expected, and more so, it was joyful. There was not a lick of violence. Everybody was cooperative, and everybody had a single message: we are not here to tear anything down. We are here to restore and to build and to improve the principles of this nation, which the current regime is intent on tearing down. There's been no kings in America since 1776, and we intend for it to stay that way. And so everybody had clever messages, joyful messages. They came out to prove that the heartbeat of America is here, and the intent of drowning it out or stamping it out is not going to happen. We also have the intention of proving that that the current regime cannot stand to be laughed at. And we brought every bit of cleverness and ingenuity to point ridicule at the current regime. And I think it was tremendously successful. It is the largest peaceful protest in American history. And I'm just overjoyed to be part of it. So that's my 2 cents.
All right. Well, we'll take those 2 cents. And I know we've got guests here today that are going to add 2 more cents to it. So we will have a few coins by the end of this
Okay.
podcast.
All right.
So thank you, Eric. Next, I want to move to Stasha and Slava. And so just for context to my viewers, these are young adults. Stasha, recent graduate of University of South Florida, and Slava, who is currently a St. Petersburg College student. And we all know there's much discussion about the young adult population and just how to get them engaged and how they are reacting and what their feelings are really about the current climate and, more importantly, their future. So this question really is for both Stasha and Slava. Share with our viewers what has caused you, even in this past movement. I've been advised that this is, I think, your second movement with No Kings, but what prompted you to get engaged? Stasha?
So for me, I've been looking for a way to get involved for a very long time. Basically, as soon as I started paying attention to politics, I have noticed the sort of erosion a lot of the institutions that I took for granted and a rise in authoritarianism. But I felt somewhat helpless in making the change that I wanted to see. And No Kings was the first step that I saw that I could make towards making that change that was also accessible for me as someone with no protest experience and no knowledge on how to get involved. So, and after kind of seeing that camaraderie and seeing that sort of hope in that space, I just knew I had to come back and keep going. So, yeah.
Awesome. Slava?
I decided to be part of No Kings protest because throughout history, Americans found the courage to stand up and use their voices when they did not agree with what was happening. And I feel like now it is my turn to do that. I love the United States and I want to do my part in fighting for a better future for this country and for everyone who comes after me. I really like No King's commitment to nonviolent action. And I think that coming together as a country, the way we did for No Kings, creates a camaraderie and solidarity with each other. I want to be someone who gives other people hope and shows them that they're not standing alone, that we are all standing as a nation.
Oh, wow. How powerful is that? We are not standing alone. We are all standing as a nation. That is profound. And I'm so glad each of you have decided that it's worth it to speak up and to stand out and to make your voices and your preferences known for what you want your city, your state, your county, your nation to look like. And so I'm going to stay right here with you, Stasha and Slava, and just simply ask, what parting, or I should say, what one sound piece of advice would you have for others? Other college students, others, who are maybe on the cusp of turning 18 before the next election. What advice would you give to them if they are seemingly still in denial of kind of what's happening? Like they really don't yet grasp what's going on. What advice would you give them? Stasha, go ahead.
Alrighty. So my key piece of advice would be, do not let the people in power take away your agency or hope. They will try to convince you that your choices and wishes are kind of inconsequential to the future of the nation, and that's provably untrue with these protests. And the only way that you can make the change that you want to see is when you take a breather, gather yourself, and get involved. And you will see that change, I promise.
Awesome. Awesome. Do not let them take it away. That's Sasha. Slava?
So my message is that prevention is the best cure. And if we learn from history and we pay attention to what's going on around us now, it's easier to stop a country from becoming an authoritarian state than to fight back against it once it happens. And it's easy to be in denial about things, especially if those are the things that we do not want to happen, until it becomes painfully obvious. The problem is, when it does become painfully obvious, it might be too late to stop it from happening. And one of the worst things we can do is assume that history cannot repeat itself, that the same threat to democracy cannot happen again, or it cannot happen here. And that's not optimism. That's a recipe for disaster. And so my message to other college students, to other younger adults is pay attention, get involved.
All right. You heard it. Pay attention, get involved. And here's one of the things that just stuck out to me. And that's, from part of the question, which is don't think that history can't repeat itself. And if we aren't involved, young people, shout out. I'm going to put my megaphone up. Shout out to the young people. If you're not involved, it could very well be too late. And so I am joining Stasha and Slava in that slogan of do not let it become too late. Thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. We want to hear from our other guests, E.T., Eric T. And I'm ready to hear. I'm going to ask a question, but I want the viewers to know that there are those that may not have the same party letter that you have, who are also disenfranchised with what is happening in our current state, nation, in this democracy that we are holding on to with all of our might. And Eric T. is a Republican, a registered Republican. He allowed me to share that. But he has joined the No Kings movement in support of what the movement stands for. And that simply is an identifier that there are people, take the D, the R, the I, and any other letter that you want to affiliate yourself with. There are people who truly believe and are willing. That's the key. You can believe something, but you got to be willing to stand up for it as well. And he's willing to stand up and say, enough is enough. This cannot continue. And so, Eric, I know these nationwide protests have been safe, and I've learned that you were on the most recent safety and I think keeping everybody safe there in the Largo Mid-Pinellas. Am I correct?
Yeah. I was actually the coordinator for the 7 people that we used or needed, for crowd control. I was very shocked that I became the leader. I don't know how that happened because
Wow.
I was a firm believer in the because I was in the U.S. Navy for a number of years that I never would again volunteer myself, but here I did, and I'm so glad that I did. I was able to walk the crowd. Well, I mean, my step counter was like 8,000 steps that day. I have no idea. And for me, that's a huge thing because I have a lot of battle scars. And I was able to walk the crowd and feel something. I was able to feel that I wasn't alone.
Right.
And I think that brought so much to my heart to make my empathy for a fellow man to feel like we're not alone. We're not against this regime by ourselves. Now we have 7 million plus people protesting. We're approaching that magic 3.5% number that everybody talks about. And I think we need to get there. We need to continue the focus, continue to push, and get 10 million or 11 million people on board. And I think that after this, this month of starvation tactics and whatever else they threw at us, is going to be that trigger to make people realize that they're not here to be empathetic.
Right.
They're here to line their pockets.
Yeah.
And they're here to take the money from you and put it in their pockets, and then they're going to disappear and leave us with a show. Yeah. And it's not going to be a good show. And so that's the main reason why I'm here. I mean, at the end of the protest, and I saw this nationwide follow up, that we left the places that we protested better than when we arrived.
Imagine that.
And that shows me that there are at least 7 million people out there that have great hearts, that have great desires to see better things from America than what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
And that's important to me. Yeah. So
I agree. I think that, one of the things I'm hearing, there's several things that I'm hearing, but I'll highlight a couple of things. One is sometimes there is that unknown safety factor. Whenever there are typically large crowds of people, there is, this safety concern. And so it's good to hear, Eric, there are people like you that get collaborate with others, and the teams that put these together. I would dare say in every location, there are the Eric T. led teams all over that keep these protests safe, that continue to emanate the nonviolent aspect of the protest so that nothing gets out of control. We don't give reasons for law enforcement to step in to do anything other than join in. if you want to do something while you're out there, law enforcement, join on in. But thank you so much for that. And I would say Eric G as well, for everyone who thinks that far ahead to put teams of people together so that others who are protesting, particularly if they are first timers, I would want to know that I'd be safe, or I'd know what to do should something break out in a manner that's not conducive to the movement's purpose. And so, E.T., I'm going to ask, what other tips you would have as a registered Republican? What other tips would you have for those to bring your, I'm going to say, party associates on with you, and so that they too, who may still be in denial, although it's happening, they may want to sit back because they feel that's the safe thing to do. What's your advice to them as well?
Turn off the regime TV. Turn off Fox 13. Turn off Fox News completely, and understand that what you're seeing is not normal. What you're hearing is not normal. That is not government working for you, because that's what they want you to believe, that they're doing this for you, and they're not doing it for anybody but. And you can say the term oligarchs. A lot of people don't know what that means. The billionaires, the trillionaires, the Muscovites, and all those. The Bezoses, everybody that's flying rockets to the moon and saying they're doing it for mankind. They're not. They're doing it because they want to be self-enriched, and they want to be kings over the world. And they're not here for us. They're not here for the people. So we have to keep that in mind. And ask them, why are they making these huge changes, and why are they rounding up people and disappearing people, and all these things that are so important to see, and that the and not just Fox, but the capitulated corporate news is not telling you. You need to dig a little deeper, and find out what the true stories are that's coming out, and find that voice that that you feel in your heart, that you can feel it every day, that something's not quite right here. So that's what I recommend you do.
Okay.
Well, and I deal with a 93-year-old step grandmother or grandmother-in-law or whatever you want to call her.
Okay. All right.
And she is a dyed-in-the-wool red Republican, and Donald can do no wrong. And even after this shutdown, she was saying, "Oh no, we were talking just last night when she took us out to dinner, and we were talking about how bad the economy is." She goes, "Oh no, the economy's great. Gas is almost $2 a gallon. We drive her everywhere." She says the turkey. Oh, she said Thanksgiving is going to be so much less expensive this year. And I said,
straight, it's like literally straight from the TV.
Exactly. And I said, "Oh, Grandma, oh Lord," but she's 93. I'm not going to sit there and have an argument with her because she's lived a wonderful life.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, she's just repeating talking points.
Yeah.
And she's not feeling the heart. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Okay. All right. Listen, turn off the talking TVs from Fox and get channeled in to something that can give you what you're seeing in reality that matches what's really going on in the world. Those two things can never stay disconnected. If you're feeling it in your home, in your grocery store, in this case with, the layoffs currently happening, if those things are happening for real, everything cannot be great. So I think you're right, E.T. They just got to kind of get plugged in. Try, even if it's not, and this is just my little plug on the back end of yours, E.T., and that's even if you have not yet felt as if I really, really, really want to believe what, another news outlet is saying, at least hear the information, be open to hearing it, and then do your own self-assessment, meaning, does what you're hearing outside of your normal channel match what you're seeing in your household? I would dare say there would be many that they know something's just not right. And so I hope many more, E.T., will join you and us and all of those who truly believe that this democracy is sacred and that we live in the United States of America for a reason. There are so many other places that are not as fortunate, even to this day, not as fortunate as us. And so I am grateful. Thank you each, Stasha, Slava, E.T., Eric, G. We have not yet gotten word on the next No Kings movement, but if it's one thing I know for sure, when it starts to form, it will mobilize quickly. So be on the lookout, be on the listen out, be ready to enact. We've got quite a few things that are still on the docket across this nation. I do know there are a few more special elections coming up by the end of the year. So there's still plenty to do. And I encourage each of you, if you're listening to this, whether live or if you play it on the playback, Sasha, Slava, Eric T, Eric G, these are the people that have been on the ground and they are ready, willing to assist you in getting engaged as well, as long as me. So if you need to reach out, feel free to reach me through my podcast link and contact information. I'll make sure to get you to the right people. But nonetheless, it is movement from here. No kings. That is what we are here to shout loud and clear. No kings. That does not exist here in our democracy. So, ladies, gentlemen, thank you so very much. And I will be in touch soon.
Love you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I am elated. I am ecstatic. These are the types of things that we must be very, very aware of. But there are people that are doing the things that they need to do to stand up for democracy. In today's climate, no one can afford to sit on the sidelines. Everyone should be doing something when they can, where they can, how they can. For some of you, your democracy-saving action is protesting. For others, that might be phone banking, canvassing, or voter registration drives and leading those in your communities. For the 89,278,948 people who did not vote in the November 2024 election, one of the most simplest ways that you can turn on your fight for democracy is to simply show up and vote. Please, your freedom depends on it.
Evidently,
Thank you.
You're Unaware is a platform dedicated to shining light upon various issues, topics, circumstances, and people who influence our lives. The information provided should not be considered advice for legal, health, investments, or the endorsement of an individual or group. Neither the host nor the guest of Evidently You're Unaware is responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from using the information shared within this podcast. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Evidently, You're Unaware.